Welcome to the Exia process. This video is going to give you a brief overview of the Exia process features. It moves along quite quickly. There are a lot of features in the Exia process. This is not designed to teach you them, but just to show you the capability of the Exia process so that you know what you're looking for and where to find things later. To connect to Team Foundation Server, we press the Connect button and select a Team Foundation Server, and now we're connected. We see a list of all the projects in Team Foundation Server. We can select a project. Once we select a project, we can begin working with it, and we can just as easily select any other project in Team Foundation Server. The Exia process first and foremost manages work items. So let's just go to User Stories. By clicking User Stories, we now see a list of the user stories. We can see the individual user story, or we can see all the stories on a storyboard. Let's just have a look at the user story. To create a new user story, we can click File, New User Story, and just type in My New User Story. We might click some story details and save it. And that's how easy it is to create a new user story in the Exia process. We can select it, assign to it, change the person days, enter details. We can add subtasks to it. We can add test cases to it. We can even add documentation to it on the fly. We can assign an area, an iteration, a stage of completion, state, and so on. We can attach images to the user story by just clicking the capture button. Capture a region, for instance. You can see that I'm recording this. That might be our, so now we've captured a screen capture. All right, test cases work in much the same way, and tasks. And something we're all familiar with, bugs. So let's just have a look at how easy it is to create a new bug. Control-Shift-B brings up the bug dialog and save the bug. And now our bug is saved, and we can start entering details for the bug and track it. We might want to see a workflow for the bug. We might want to see history for the bug. If we want to see some real history, let's have a look at something that actually has history. So it's very easy for us to browse through the history of items and see everything that's gone on with an item. The project dashboard shows us project start date, iteration start and end date, iteration planning dates, finalization, tasks, and so on. We can change our developer team size. In here we can see the vision, the problem, and the overall project information. Clicking storyboard brings us to a storyboard that we can resize to full screen. This storyboard is stretchable this way, it's scalable this way, it's very highly responsive. All these story cards are live, so we can type right on them. We can flip them over and type on the other side to get more detail if we want. We can drag them around, and as we drag them across lanes, the completion stage changes. You can see it changes here from not started to in progress. So everything is nice and fluid and interactive. We can, of course, add more lanes to the storyboard if we want. By just clicking the plus button, we can add up to 10 lanes. The Exia Process Library feature is a very powerful feature. This system can manage your entire project documentation. Here we're looking at the architecture book. If we want to edit this book, we just click and type. Just like Microsoft Word, the asterisk indicates that that paragraph is changed and we can save it. Each one of these paragraphs is getting saved with full version control because it's actually getting saved as a work item behind the scenes. The paragraphs, of course, can be rearranged. So Control arrow will rearrange them. We can indent them and outdent them. We can bullet them and number them. We can create new books by opening the bookshelf, clicking New Book. A book can contain anything that you like. So now we've created a new book, and we can start editing the book by adding a new topic and type. Books can have as many pages as you like, and one of the tremendously powerful things about this is that books can relate to work items. So if we're editing a story, for instance, and we want to add documentation about the architecture, we can just type the title of the new topic and edit it right in the context of the work item, adding as much information as we want. And then later on, when we go back to the library, we'll see that the new topic on architecture is right back in our architecture document where we expected it. It of course can be rearranged afterwards and put in the proper place by whoever is responsible for the architecture document. Let's just have a quick look at the iteration tracking and planning feature that allows you to really quickly plan out your project. This shows the iterations in the project, and of course you can scroll across them. We can add new iterations just by clicking. Each iteration shows the start date and end date. The start date for the first iteration comes from the project dashboard, so we can see the iteration start date is December 1st. If we were to change this here, you would see that it would change down here. After that, every iteration is set just by dragging the length of the iteration, or we can put our cursor here and type the number of days in the iteration, or we can just hit the plus minus button to stretch the iterations. So you can really easily plan the iteration. So just a very flexible tool. These bars show us the work completed and the planned work and the total capacity. We can double click an iteration to see much more detail on the iteration. We can drag work into the iteration, and as we drag work in, we can see that, well, this one is already assigned to the iteration, so let's just drag this one in. We can see that the planned work changes. We're now at 94% capacity. We can see the work completed changes. We can double click on a piece of work in an iteration, which brings us right to the iteration. And now if we change the person days, we can see that everything updates in live time. If this person days changes, we can actually push the iteration loading over its limit. Let's just bring that down again. So everything is nice and live. The other thing that happens is once we have stories or work in an iteration, if we change the stage of completion from in progress to say ready for prod, we see the green bar jumps here, the green bar jumps here in the summary, and the green bar jumps here in the detail. Let's just bring today's the today bar back into an iteration. As you see, the today bar always corresponds to today and gives you a real good sense of where you are in the iteration work. We can see that we're actually behind because this green bar should be up to the today's date. So we're a little bit behind in the work here. So really easy to track your project scheduling with that. Now let's jump over to the guidance feature of the Exia process. The guidance feature is one of the coolest features in the Exia process. What we found is that people have a lot of trouble understanding really what software project management entails. So we built an interactive tool that helps you learn as you work. This is layered, so we're looking at the base process now. This is the base process for running an iterative software project. You have some planning, iteration planning, then you have a sprint. Within that you have bugs and so on. I think you get the idea. What happens is you can actually click on this and then you can hover over these to read a little bit more about them. So for each element of the project work, we can see all the individual tasks that have to go into getting that work done. Let's look, for instance, at start. So to start, we need to connect a Team Foundation server. Well, how would we do that? We can just click here and we get more extensive help on it. So you can really get a tremendous amount of help on what you want to do. If you decide you want to, you can watch a quick video by clicking Show Me, and a video opens up just showing you how to execute that task. When you've decided that you've mastered this part of the Exia process, you can add more layers. So we might want to add design and documentation or testing or continuous integration. And this can be, of course, completely customized according to what your particular focus is on the project. Or we can add all, of course, and that gives us everything that it takes to run a software project. It might look complicated, but it's better than not understanding these and finding that they bite you at the end of a project because you haven't accounted for them. So as you can see, everything is live here and gives us just a really nice interactive help for how to use the Exia process to get software project management done. That's a brief overview of the Exia process features. Remember, from the start page, you can click Connect to Team Foundation Server. You can always get help with F1. And you can always hit Control G or the guidance button up here to open the guidance window. Of course, you can resize this, but remember the guidance window is your way to learn the Exia process and really understand how to use the features.